Kristina Moyer. Welcome. If you joined me in my previous live, thank you for being there. And I did explain some of what's going on in my life as to why things might not seem as organized. So, today's video, I decided to come live again and try to redeem myself in my live painting, give myself more experience with it, and hopefully give some new life to this piece here. So join me right now as we do so. All right, let's flip this around and see if we can set you up for being able to see this really well. And I can see you and all of that. Oh, it's heavy. These phones, hey? They're so heavy. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. You can check out my grandma's painting for now. So thank you all for your continued support as, we figured this out and all of that. So if you missed that previous video, my husband's currently in palliative care. You know what? I'm going to flip the phone. No, this is probably the best camera anyways. So yeah, my husband is has been switched to palliative care. So what that means is he's no longer receiving cancer treatment. He's been battling cancer for 5.5 years, since diagnosis anyways. And yeah, so he doesn't have much time according to the doctors. Of course, we don't know what that, necessarily entails, but anyways, that's a little bit of that if you missed that video. So I'm going to get started actually with doing a layer, just like a wash over top of this. Okay, so hopefully all is well. You can see everything really nicely. I'm gonna do a little play here. I'm gonna start with an acrylic ink, and this is a transparent tone, so it's gonna change the tone of things, but it's not going to completely cover the painting either. So I think I'm gonna give it a, let me see, are you guys seeing this okay, or do I stand and mix shadows? Let's bring it over here a little bit actually, so you can see just a bit better. So I'm not creating a shadow, because we've got some nice natural light going on right now, so as soon as I shut that door, Charlie usually comes in. So tell me where you're watching from. It's so cool to have an audience, a worldwide audience, an international audience. So tell me where you're watching from, unless you want to keep that secret. That's okay too. So I'm just going to put some of this. This is, of course, the hardest name ever. This phthalocyanine green blue. I think that's how you say it. So this is an acrylic ink. And we're going to give this a go. Also, if you missed last week, I painted this cool rock. I thought I'd just show you in real life what this rock looks like. It's really cool. I was going to do more of those for this week's video, but I just decided to go ahead and go with this. So I'm going to wet the brush, wake it up. That's what I like to say. It's like waking it up. And I'm just going to do kind of this layer over top of this beautiful color that's just one of my favorite colors. And I thought this would be a cool way to get things started. So yes, it's going to change the whole vibe of the piece, and that's going to be intentional. This is intentional. This, as the season starts to change, and who knows, maybe this is an evolving piece where we start with, this fall scene that turns into more of a late fall scene where, you have more of your leaves are falling off. So you have that kind of, everyone's getting Halloween decorations, and you're feeling that vibe. You're feeling that like creepy tree vibe. And sorry, I guess I'm not describing it very well, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And you can thin this down to reveal more underneath as well. So it does have some good pigments in there, and you can see it's leaving some bubbles, that kind of thing. You can kind of see. Hopefully you can see this pretty well. Let me know if you guys are able to see everything pretty well, if things are good. Maybe turn it this way just a wee bit. Okay, so yeah, we're changing the vibe because especially the last couple days, all of the leaves are falling, and I'm just feeling that kind of vibe of, I don't know, it's kind of like Halloween vibe. It's feeling it. So just lightly, and then I'm gonna wash out my brush. Got my little wash set up over here. Oh, my thing's too heavy. Oh, there we go. Not too heavy, it's just the legs are long and hitting stuff. Okay. All right, hopefully you find my lives entertaining. I understand that while I'm letting this kind of dry a little bit, and hopefully you can see me, hello, um, while things dry a little bit, like, I understand how watching, I know for myself, watching videos, and I don't know if I can see myself right now, if you guys can see my head, my face, but, you know, watching videos that are scripted, there's nice flow to it, you can edit everything out, you know, if you say something not very smart, and just like the pauses and everything, you can really cut things out, speed things through, but what's cool about live is you guys are seeing the unscripted version of a process. And there's also a different feeling when I go live, that there's a lot of pressure. So it changes my confidence when I'm painting. So anyways, hopefully you're seeing my face. Okay. All right. Let's get on to the next thing I want to do with this. So having said what I said about, you know, this Halloween vibe, I want to now take some, I've been debating whether I want to go full on black, but I think I do. I'm going to take some black gesso, which I've never played with before. Not really. I'm just going to see if I need to, okay, there, ooh, this is very Halloweeny. Halloweeny, is that a real word? Okay, so this is, again, another Liquitex Professional product. So it's just black gesso, and it's a matte finish. It's fluid and it's matte. And I'm going to take some of that, put it on the palette. I always think start with a little bit less and then get more, unless you're mixing a color that you know you're going to need a lot of. Then you don't want to mix not enough. Like, especially if it's, like if I'm taking something straight from the tube, take a little bit. If I'm making a color that I know I'm going to need a lot of, mix a little bit more of it. And then if you have excess, just use that as a background for another canvas or something. That's what I do anyways, because I don't like to waste. So what I want to do next is I'm going to do some creepy trees. Now, I don't know if you think that trees are creepy when they are without their leaves, but you know, I'm walking my dog in the mornings and it's dark, and so it is a little bit creepier. So I'm just gonna get some of this gesso. And I did have a reference image, but I'm again, I'm not gonna go off of a reference image, even though I know that's the best thing to do. But I'm just gonna go with this. And I'm actually debating turning this canvas on, hold up, let's turn this canvas on its side. It's gonna be totally different. Look, I even have some stuff showing there. There's some of the edge showing. I've had to put it on the easel a certain way. What I might do is create some kind of border. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what I will do with that, because this is a board. Because it's a board, it's not going to be hung up in a traditional way. It would be probably matted and framed. So those are sometimes things you should consider. I think those are things you should consider when you're creating a piece. What kind of material you're using, what will be the way that it's presented in the end. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's get into this. So I'm going to kind of try to remember what my reference image is a little bit and go with that. So I'm going to need to move you guys up a bit so you can see the full canvas. Okay. It kind of looks some kind of cheetah print thing, and that is not intentional. So I'm going to imagine where I want my horizon line. So this might be a great way, like just use your, you know, a tool like a long brush and visualize where you want that horizon line. You don't typically want it right in the middle because it creates this like too much symmetry. And I think that's a little bit what my painting was doing and I wasn't liking it. It was just too much like a pattern rather than like an area with something emphasized of interest. So what I think I'm going to do is create, what I want to do is create like this tree and then the shadow coming down. So I don't know if that's going to work, but we're going to go for it. And like I said, I'm not using a reference image, but this is going to have to do. So I'm going to create just a line. I don't want the line to go the whole way across. I think I just want the line to be part way across. Ooh, look at that. Gesso. So gesso is meant to be able to cover things. So if you want to be able to just cover something, go for a gesso. Why not? Why use a black acrylic? It's just, it won't be as powerful. So I think I'm going to bring it a little, I don't want to bring it right to the center. I'm going to bring it a little off center. And then I'm going to connect it over on this side too. So I want it to kind of continue, but okay, it's almost like things are falling into an abyss. Okay, that's very Halloween-like, isn't it? You know, an abyss. So right now I'm using a 1/4 inch angle brush, by the way. This is one of my go-to brushes. I like to I hold my brush a lot like this. I know it's like a lot of people are like, this is the right way. Do what's comfortable for you, but do try different methods because there might be, you know, painting like this can be very helpful. So, but there's certain instances for me, it's just like more comfortable to just do it a certain way. So that's how I roll. All right, so I'm gonna create my tree around here, I think. Put a little tree. Yeah, so we're walking early in the mornings because of our daylight is just, you know, less than 12 hours now. We're not getting our walk in during the daylight. It's our morning walk is in the dark, and so it can be a bit creepy looking. So what I like to do when I'm doing a tree, especially when I'm not looking at a reference, I like to remember a few things about trees. Typically, the base is wider than as you go up, and so then I'm going to just kind of move up, and I instead of just going straight up, because I want the top of the tree visible, I'm, you know, taking on an angle. So I kind of like start with kind of this V thing going on. And then from there, if you still want slightly bigger branches, keep using this brush. Look, I got a thin mark there, but you don't always get the thinnest of marks. So it could be a good idea to switch to a different kind of brush. So I'm going to wash my brush out. And then wipe it off. Okay. And grab a script liner type of brush. Let's see, I have a couple different liner brushes. So I have these two different liner ones. This one I bought recently, and I'm really excited to try it. So let's give this a go. Now, my apologies if you're asking any, feel free to ask any questions right now. I won't be able to see them at the moment, but I will respond to your questions later on. So if you have questions, please ask and I'll do my best. So I'm going to try this guy because it's new. I'm excited to give it a go. And we'll see how I'll see if it works out for me. All right. Because this one might be thicker than the other one, so I might not. Always when you're using a new tool, you should probably test it first in your sketchbook, that kind of thing. So I'm just bringing some life, kind of, to this tree. It's lost its leaves. Oh, we're getting a little thick there. See, I got a little wild. So rather than, you know, trying to make it thin again with a gesso, I'm just going to go with it and then kind of fix some of the other ones. Maybe make this one a little thicker too. I think I want to switch to the other ink liner brush. Script liner. I always call it ink liner. I don't know why. ink liner is what I use for my my makeup, my eyeliner. Okay. Are we 15 minutes in already? Oh my goodness, you guys, time just flies by. I don't like making these videos too long. But when you're going live, I guess I can do. I need to balance this tree out. Look at this, it is so crazy. That side is just wild and crazy. And if it's that thick there, oh no. This is one of those moments where like, okay, we just make it bigger and bigger. The tree's gonna be bigger. Because you don't want this part to be thicker than here. So maybe she's one of those big old, just a bigger tree. And it's not to say that we can't kind of fix that later on, depending on, the whole, what we're doing with the rest of the background and all of that. I also don't want it to look like antlers kind of thing, so I'm going to make sure I try to make this one a little more prominent. Can you guys see pretty well? Lots of branches. This person, whoever owns this tree, if anybody, has clearly not tended to it. It's not receiving any pruning care. It's just a wild child. It's a wild child of a tree. Just getting all kinds of crazy going on. Step back. Sometimes you got to step back and take a look and see, okay, where am I going wrong here? When you're live, that doesn't give you much time to kind of do that. There's not as much opportunity. Okay, I'm going to start making these like thinner branches kind of coming out. Like I did on this side with the whole tree. Bringing it out. Having some fun. Try to have fun with it. It's, it is harder to fun when you're feeling pressured. Just need to kind of relax and not worry about people watching. I've never really liked people watching me paint. Prefer to have kind of the privacy to make mistakes and fix them. And sometimes you need to step away. At some points you're like, okay, I've totally messed that up. How do we fix this? I like this right side's pretty good. The left side's like, what is going on? It's like clear that I'm right-handed on this thing. Let's try to make it better. Redeem myself. Do you think I can? I'm making it worse. I think the canopy, I think I brought it up too high because it's going to be going right off the page here. This board thing, it's going right off the board. You know those Halloween trees, they're nice and thick, right? Like, like a little highlight kind of thing going on. Cool. And I am going to have, I think, some light shining through, and it's going to be casting a shadow. So that's kind of the idea that I have going on. So I'm not sure that I want to go full black for my shadow. I'm going to wash this brush because I need a larger brush to complete that. And I'm thinking about, it's all about decisions. And I'm thinking about mixing some of this gesso with a lighter tone so it's a little more see-through. And actually what I'm going to start with is, this one is transparent raw sienna. I think it's not a bad idea to start with a color. Maybe not this color. Let's see. Well, since this is already in the background, we could start with this color. And I do still have some on my palette, but let's give it a little more. And you can even mix, we can mix a little black in it, or we could just start with it in pure form and then kind of lay out where we want all the, you know, the shadowing to be. And because it's a Halloween type of, it's kind of coming into this Halloween type of image, we could kind of play around. It doesn't necessarily have to be realistic. I mean, this could turn into some kind of other image if you wanted. But I think I'm just going to, first of all, find a brush that I want to use. This is a nice soft, because I want a smooth look. So I'm going to use just this round, soft brush. Let's see what size, number 4. Okay, I'm going to dip into my ink. And I'm going to start at the base where we know things are. Now, depending on where the light is, if the light is there, and we're going to kind of come out into this angle is kind of the idea. So I'm going to kind of take it. And, you know, when you look at a shadow, you don't necessarily always see the perfection of the, like, it's not a perfect, oh, like a stamp of what you see up there. Oh, I'm bringing some of that gesso in. Cool. Okay, that's not a bad thing, actually. I don't mind that. I do not mind. Those are the happy accidents of our paintings. Okay. And it's probably going to kind of like vein out in all kinds of directions, but we want to keep in mind somewhat the shape that we've created, all of that, like a little bit. We want to consider that. It's kind of veining out. It will almost look like it's just its roots. Just thought this might be kind of an interesting way to change up the piece. And that's kind of, I'm going with the feeling too of what I kind of felt as I was walking by these trees that had these, it was almost like the entity, like the living portion of the tree was in its shadow, because of the way that a shadow changes as you are walking, the light of it and everything is kind of interesting. So I'm going to kind of play around with this, have some fun. Right now, it kind of feels a little too strongly like that stamp look to me. It kind of feels a little like that. I want to make it. This thing, because I think I do want multiple sources of light. So what that means is if you just have a single source of light, then you're only going to have a single shadow. But when you have another source of light, so if we have a strong source of light coming here, this is our strong shadow, but then there's maybe some other lights around, so they're casting shadows in other directions, we can make a lighter shadow in that area. Right, so what I would do though first is darken this shadow more once I feel like confident with where this is kind of headed. And I'm not going exactly with what this is, you know, I'm not going exactly, oh, there's that, and then following, like I'm kind of, because I am going to create that other shadow, it's going to kind of go elsewhere, or there's other trees maybe nearby that we don't see in the image, casting shadows from other ways. Just depends on how kind of complex you want it to look, that kind of thing. So I'm just currently dipping directly in that, what is it called? This one. Phthalocyanine. Am I saying that correct? PHTH. Why do we need all those? The PHs and the DHs. I'm not sure. But before going on to any other shadows, I would stick with this shadow, kind of get it a little more in place. I'm going to take a little bit of my black gesso. Might have taken too much, I'm not sure, but we shall see. And Maybe while it's wet, it won't work as well. I want some of that right there too. Should probably wait till it dries and then go into this a little bit more. And we haven't, I'm going to paint in these in between areas as well, but that's kind of just like our background that we created. Because you're with me, so you helped me create it. And the closer it is, usually the stronger the shadow, so I do probably need to just wait till that dries, but I'm just being impatient. I think if you just leave it as kind of this one direction shadow, it'll just look a little odd. But it also kind of, right now, to me, it kind of illustrates the idea of, in Halloween, we make these shadows into something like scary. It's alive almost. It's it's bigger than it really is, kind of feels like this isn't a realistic kind of shadow. It's funny, growing up, I always wanted more like, I don't know if I always at any time really loved being scared, but I would definitely, enjoy being scary for Halloween. And now it feels like I'm not really that into that. I'm like, I don't want to scare kids. That's kind of how I feel. I'm like, I don't like to scare. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of leave it at that for the moment. And we're already at like 27 minutes here, so I think I'm gonna kind of, I don't know, I'd like to see it through with you guys, but I don't know, just keep painting, we'll support this, having to let things dry and that kind of thing. But I would like to continue working on this, putting that light in there so that we have an understanding of why there's this thing going on. Because right now it kind of just looks like, it's got some weird roots or something. But I think to making some differentiation between this half and, this 2/3 and then this third here, there'll have to be some differentiation there too. So we'll just keep this playing. I think I need to bring some connection over here and can kind of layer things with color as things are in the distance and whatnot. Maybe I'll get my reference image and work it out. So that is some progress on this piece anyways. It has a little bit more direction, a little bit more of a, a focal point, a story to it. And it is kind of interesting. Maybe it'll become something of a, seasonal thing where right now it's this and then it will become something different soon. Let me just shift my little camera here so I can get you guys in it like this. Okay. Yeah, so who knows, maybe it'll become a winter scene at some point because we are set to have snow soon. But thank you guys so much for watching and for joining me on this live where I'm trying to redeem this weird image that hopefully will become something interesting. Maybe it already is interesting in some ways, but it's evolving into something, that's for sure. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thanks so much for being here and for your support. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you found any value or entertainment from this video, and let me know in the comments, again, where you're watching from or a little bit about your art experience. Have you ever painted live before? Have you done this in front of other people? How do you feel about that? Are you comfortable creating art in front of other people, or is it like too private and personal? Let me know how you get past that point of worrying about what people are thinking and making mistakes in front of others while you're working through it, because you also have to let things dry. And so there's this time where, doing a live painting can be kind of a challenge, because I do like to take these kind of breaks that allow me to reassess before I make other decisions, where when I'm live, I'm just like, I have to make the decisions now. So I hope you liked it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Thank you again for being here, and we'll see you next time.